guys, this is the second episode of Seconds with Stars, and I am your host, Nwabisa Moyo. And for today's episode, we have someone that needs no introduction, but out of pure courtesy, I shall give him the honor of that. He has been a tutor, chess instructor, research assistant at the Department of Psychology, chief adjudicator for Rhodes Debating Society, vice chairperson of the Rhodes Chess Club, community engagement rep, and environmental rep. He's been a member of the student parliament. He's been the deputy speaker at the student parliament, and now he is our reigning SRC president for the year 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about Bothlale Modisaotsile. How are you?
I'm great, and how are you?
I'm great, and that was a very big introduction, I must say. You've done a lot, and you're still so young. So my question is like, where do you go from here?
We only aim for the summit at this point.
Honestly, that's where we'd like to see you.
Definitely.
But before you became all of these things that you are, which are very amazing, you are Bothlale, you know, your mother's child. So tell me about your childhood.
Yeah, so Bothlale Modisaotsile is, you know, a young kid from Gauteng. I turned 23 on the 19th of September, so we are growing.
Happy belated.
Thank you. So I was raised by my mother, mainly my mother. You know, it was really great. It still is great staying in Kempton Park. I've been there for as long as I can remember. So, you know, I'm just someone who grew up with wanting to know more, you know, being the meaning of my name, because Bothlale means intelligence, and my surname Modisaotsile means the shepherd has come. So having to be there and wanting to know more is just something that has defined who I am from as a kid till now, you know. That's who Bothlale is, you know, someone who's just a go-getter. You know, even in primary school, I would, you know, be a leader. Like start off by playing chess, and then I was chosen as an admin leader and as a prefect. Then high school, there's just so much that happened, especially in terms of leadership and cultural activities. But yeah, that's who Bothlale is.
So can you tell me about these leadership, you know, roles that you played when you were still back in school?
Sure. So in primary school, I was an admin leader. So basically that would be like your scholar patrol, working in the tuck shop.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then that was 2010. 2011 I was prefect, you know, just a prefect. And you know, the prefect, you're taking care of the school now at a like primary school level, but it was really fun. I had a great time being a prefect, and I was like, you know, this leadership thing is in me.
It's for you.
It's for me, you know. And then in high school, I came to high school, and you know, I continued playing chess. So I started playing chess in grade 5. So I continued playing chess. I even made the first team in grade 9. All the way up to matric. I was captain in matric. So I just went on to, you know, I would just go on to play chess, do debating. I was in the musical. I did Stedford, public speaking, quite a lot. Then in my matric year, I was deputy head boy of culture at Brishley High.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's wonderful. You know, leadership is clearly for you. Like, you've been there, you're the one for it. And you spoke about your chess career. So can you tell me a little bit about it, like where you started and how far you've gone?
Wow, it's been over 10 years now. So yeah, 2009 is when I started playing chess. It was like in grade 5. So, you know, I was just curious, like, what is this thing all about, you know? So I just kept on learning, and then I made the team. Played for a number of years, but I just played the same chess. My chess really started to improve when I was like about to finish at high school in grade 11, and then grade 12 when I was chosen as deputy head boy, I was also chess captain, you know, and then I made it to the South African Junior Chess Championships. That's where I was exposed to playing with, you know, the best of the best. Yeah, in my matric year I didn't do so well, but then when I made it here, and I was actually representing Tshwane Chess, you know, so Tshwane being in Pretoria, it's like the best chess union. So, you know, starting from that development to the following year, when I was doing my first year here, I went on to finish as the top South African in 20.
Yeah. That's a lot. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it was really a shock because I was the lowest rated player on the list. So if you look at the list, like the ranking, they'd be like, no, he wouldn't make it. But you know, I finished as the top South African. Second overall, but top South African.
Sure, that's wonderful. And now you're the president of Rhodes University. How do you feel about that, actually?
Well, where do I even start, right?
Where do you start?
Where do I start? So, you know, I just woke up this one morning and, you know, actually last year I ran for SRC academic counselor, but I didn't make it. I actually ran late, but it was really a learning experience for me, especially noting that it was my first time having to go for SRC, especially in an online platform. So running for president, I just took notes of, okay, this is what was missing, this is what I needed to do. And making it as president, I can even take you back to the night that it happened, if you don't mind.
Please take us back.
Yeah, so, you know, 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks of campaigning, I'm not sure, but, you know, posters going left, right, and center. I'm there telling my campaign team we want healthy competition, get creative with the memes, get creative with the ideas. We even had like a presidential song. You know, me being a rapper, I didn't want that to be part of the campaign. I came as Bothlale. So we had Igwijo that was dedicated to Bothlale. So let's vote for Bothlale, Bothlale, for president, and so forth and so on. So, you know, we just kept an organic campaign running, and then it was only the presidential candidates that were allowed at Eden Grove, you know, so it's the SRC, members of the IEB, and, you know, past presidents that are sitting there. So, you know, they'll be announcing 14 of the 16 of the 16 members till they get to president. So I'm there, vice president, I'm like, okay, it's not me. President, and then they're like, now the president is, people are saying, Bothlale. At this point, I'm like, you know what? If they say my name, cool. If they don't say my name, that's also fine.
Yeah.
And then, you know, my surname happens to be hard to pronounce for some reason, which it isn't. I mean, it's Modisaotsile.
Yeah.
That's what it is. People just happen to read it quickly and they just get it out. So, you know, when Mr. Hellerman was there saying the president-elect is Botlhale, I didn't wait for my surname. I ran out because I knew that maybe my surname might be mispronounced. Whether it's pronounced good or bad, I'm just like, I ran out screaming. But like pushing the door of Eden Grove Red, then coming back and, you know, walking down the steps slowly. I'm shaking, trembling. I have my speech on a piece of paper. It was on my phone and I have a speech on a piece of paper. And as I get down, I'm in tears, crying. Like, I didn't expect that to happen at all. You know, I'm just there crying, you know, wiping my tears, hugging everyone that's there. And the minute I saw the camera, you know, for the Facebook Live, that's where I stopped crying. So people didn't see that I was crying. The people that were in the room at Eden Grove Red saw that, okay, he's in tears, you know, and it was really a good thing. I, you know, spoke from the bottom of my heart, just stated that, you know, I will do my best to serve you wholeheartedly as a leader, and it really is important to note that, you know, the SRC needs their student body because they're chosen by the student body. It's even in the slogan, representing leaders, you know, and Rhodes happens to be the place where leaders learn. So it really is important to have that relationship between the student body, the SRC, and student parliament, have that coordination going on. You know, next year is a year of review, but I think we can go into that later.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
So you did mention that you like ran out of the room. So please take me through like your mind at this point. Like, what are you thinking?
Well, so many emotions were rushing. Like, first of all, I'm like, okay, next year I'm that person. I'm literally described as the face of the SRC, you know. But, you know, I see myself as a team player. I understand that, you know, as a president, you are an executive member. You're just ensuring that, you know, the team is doing what they're supposed to be doing, but you also have your duties of your own. So, you know, so many emotions were running through my mind. I was like, yo, I've been in this leadership position, that leadership position, that leadership position, but this is huge. So that's why I rushed out screaming, and I came back moments later just crying because I'm like, yeah, this is a big step for me. I'm excited, I'm scared, I'm open to criticism, and, you know, we are in this together. Understand that, you know, Rhodes is one family, you know, so we need to bear that in mind. Like, when we call out the SRC, what exactly are we trying to achieve? When we say that, Mr. President, this is not what you're doing, you are open to suggest that, have you tried this? What's the next take here? And then that way, maybe we haven't thought of what you're saying, we're like, oh, okay. And we look at all the necessary approaches. So it's all about having to be a team player. You know, as a student, you are also a leader. Even last year when I didn't make it as academic counselor, you know, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna be present. And there I was, Deputy Speaker of Student Parliament. I'm working side by side with the SRC, you know. So it's still a big thing for me. And, you know, as incoming president, I can't wait to see what goes down. Like, yeah, I'm also feeling a bit emotional about it because, yeah, it just takes me back to that night. But it was really great.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very big thing. It's equivalent to being head boy of the university.
Right, and like, you know, at Bursley High, I was deputy head boy. You know, but I did state my intentions, like, you know, I would love to be head boy, but my mind, like, I knew deep down that I would be deputy head boy at Bridgeley High, and I was okay with that, you know, and I was really that person who was out there, vocal, like saying, guys, we need to do this, you know, like, some students would see me as the head boy. I was like, no, I'm the deputy head boy, but besides that, like, I'm a leader, you know, the title just comes afterwards, you know, but there's being deputy head boy at high school, then there's being an SRC president at a university. You know, big difference. So, yeah, all I'm just saying is I'm still excited and, you know, still ready to see what goes down.
Yeah, you should still be excited. This is a very exciting thing. If I was president, I'd be excited until I died.
Right.
But, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that people expect from presidents and that you would also expect from being a president. And I'm sure that as soon as you found out that you were president, there was that one person that you spoke to. Who was the first person that you told about the new position?
Moms. I told my mom about it. Yeah, and you know, she was really happy. You know, cause yeah, it's something else. It was all about, you know, you shouldn't be having leadership positions at Rhodes, but when you just get this one leadership position, everything changes, because now you have the whole student body relying on you to speak for them. You know, not just to management. You are an external representative. When people talk about Rhodes, you are there. You know, so it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. And yeah, I'm just standing here while sitting, of course, as a selfless leader. You know, that's what it is. When I wore that black and yellow gown, I was just like, this is actually happening. You know, here I am. I belong to the student body. That's the moment that gown came on. I was like, now's the time for me to start getting questions, because I'm only in power next year. You know, and SRC undergoes training, so we really have a taste of, like, we really know or have an idea of what to expect after training. Like, okay, there's our manifesto, and then there's you getting the position. You know, what you wanted as a student running for the position and now being in that position. You know, so having that distinction as well, it's also like, wow, this is where we are now. You know?
So you've been in the school for a few years and you've watched different presidents come in and go. What would you say that you would like to change in terms of how the school has been led in the years preceding your reigning year?
Well, in the years prior to, you know, me now being the incoming president, I would just like to say that I would love to learn from, you know, presidents of before. I've spoken to, you know, the past presidents. I'm still in contact with them now. I'm friends with the current president. You know, so having to learn as much as possible is key, you know, and also understanding what the SRC has done, what are their targets, what would they like to achieve, you know, taking that into account. And then you also being a person, a character in this new position, having a vision of your own, and also having to have like something that you want to leave behind, you know, because you're not just there to start everything new. The SRC wasn't born yesterday. It's like as old as Rhodes. Rhodes is like what, 117 years old. I think the SRC is close. The institution is close to that age. So SRC is an institution. So it's important to, you know, understand the institutional values, you know, the brand that is the SRC and who they represent, the student body. You know, they are the ones that speak to the SRC. You know, they work with the SRC. So it really is important to just bear that in mind, like know that, okay, this is what the president, this is what SRC has done, because you're not limited to just your portfolio. You know, like, yes, I'm president, I'm an executive member of the SRC. I work with the vice president, the secretary general, the treasurer general. I work with, you know, I work with them. I also work with my council members, but you also have to act as a council member. Like, for example, if you are, let's say, postgrad affairs councillor, you're not just limited to doing postgrad things. You also need to work side by side with maybe the student benefits and sponsorships councillor to work on something. So it's always about collaboration as well, not just limiting to the portfolio. So being someone who's elemental, who's able to answer questions, who knows that if you can't answer a question, okay, I know who to speak to, I know what to, that I can speak to this organization, that organization. I can speak with my council members. This is where we go, you know. So being able to know where to go, you know.
So you're in a university that needs, like, obviously many changes to be made, you know.
Mm.
No university is perfect, so there's a lot that still needs to be done to, you know, improve Rhodes University. And how do you intend on doing that?
Well, getting as much information as possible, you know, ensuring that I'm as informed as possible. I'm not just looking at my manifesto and saying that, you know, students need to be aware of the student liberties. So analyzing past documents, future documents, the documents that affect us, like the Student Governance Constitution, Institutional Transformation Plan, you know, understanding where management is coming from, understanding where the students come from, these specific policy documents, in what way do they affect the students. Next year they are undergoing review, so students really need to come to the policy to say, hey, Article 7 point whatever of this document, I find it problematic, or this is how we can analyze it. So having that engagement within the student body is imperative, especially as a member of student parliament. You know, people need to know that there are different substructures that exist under student parliament, and student parliament holds SRC accountable, for those that don't know. You know, and also the student body holds SRC accountable, you know, because they're the ones that voted for the SRC. So you are required to push your SRC, but remember, when you are pushing them, it's important to know what you're trying to achieve. You know, remember that you're trying to uplift your SRC, and you're trying to uplift yourself in the process. Your emotions are very much valued. You are a student, and the SRC are students as well. You know, they also have to study and get degrees. Yeah, so it's important to bear all of those things in mind.
So Rhodes University is in South Africa.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And we have leaders in South Africa. How do you feel about the leadership of South Africa currently?
Well, there really needs to go, like, a whole lot of changes need to be made. And also, this question touches me a bit because I'm actually a political and international studies graduate, and I'm also another major's economics honors student right now. So, you know, looking at redressing everything, you know, having to know what the inequalities about, like the discourse of development economics, noting that economic inequality is rife here, and noting that poverty is really significant, youth unemployment is a problem, unemployment in itself is a problem, having to understand the nature of the economy and how it is succumbing to the pandemic, and prior to that it has not been growing. So, you know, I'm just someone who wants to look at everything. I'm very philosophical. You can tell me a story and I want to get as many answers as possible. I'll ask you questions like, how did this come about? I'm a very inquisitive person. I'm someone who's open to learning. So I feel like there is a lot that needs to be done with the leadership in South Africa as well. And I feel like, you know, university graduates are not just, we don't just study in class, we graduate. And it's bigger than having to say Uti medically, because I don't just have a degree. A degree is a piece of paper, you know. As a graduate, you also need to look at it from, you know how when a dictionary has one word and there are two meanings. So graduate, I think the first one has to do with you being at the ceremony, then the other one refers to moving up gradually or something of that nature. So being able to elevate and say that, okay, I'm a world changer, I'm someone who can voice out these opinions, you know, and look beyond what you're studying. You know, I'm able to put into practice what I'm studying, but I'm always someone who's dying to know more about nature, someone who's dying to know more about chess, someone who's dying to know more about, let's say, entomology. You know, like, open your mind to knowing a lot about anything and everything, and grow the mind, you know, just really grow the mind and ensure that you lead what you think you know about, and you are always open to know more. As a leader as well, learn to lead. Don't be afraid to lead. Like, I'm telling you now, I don't know everything. You know, the SRC do not know everything. We have been trained. We will give it our all. It's definitely going to require your all, because SRC is not for the faint-hearted. Trust me. Which explains how I was shaking and I was making my way down. But point is, when you are a leader, you commit to serve. You commit to be selfless. You represent yourself. You're for the people, by the people. You are selfless. You know, you offer yourself to the people.
So you said that a lot needs to be done. What exactly do you think needs to be done to ensure that South Africa is a better place?
We just really need to look at, where do I even start? Gender-based violence is a scourge. South Africa is described as a femicide destination of gender-based violence. So what are our laws saying right now?
that is the question in mind, relating to the harshness of the crimes that we face in that context. And with everything that's happening in terms of, like, not just that as well, but how we are governed, you know, in terms of voting, are we informed? Do we know our constitutions? Do we know the laws that govern us, the legislation that governs us? You know, that's what crosses my mind. Are we aware of the problems that the country faces?
Yeah, we
I'm
are
sure if I've
aware
answered
of
your
the
question,
yeah, we are aware of the problems, and I'm still going to stick to that question. Since we do face gender-based violence in this institution, and you're the president, how do you intend on tackling such issues?
I want to ensure that policy documents relating to gender-based violence are present everywhere. Everyone should know about it, and policy documents in that context as well, they should just be known that now this is who you speak to in terms of an event happening, so harassment policies, and being able to understand what needs to be done if faced with a specific event, and also understanding, okay, from past events, what have we learned, and why is it that we are still faced with this scourge? After how many more talks do we say this is coming to an end? Because it's never coming to an end. How many talks do we have to have? How many vigils do we have to have?
Good.
So now that you're saying how many do we have to have, I mean, we've had many and nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened.
Exactly. So my question to you is, what do you want to do practically? Let's talk about a practical solution to solve this issue. What would you do? Well, not even what would you do, what will you do to ensure that us as women feel safe?
What I want to do is just ensure that there's a fortification amongst the student body. So them knowing about the policy documents, also having to, we can't just limit it to having talks only.
Yeah.
You know, so it is important to make people aware about these problems, make people aware that we are facing this scourge, and safety as well and security needs to be analyzed. You know, campus being lit, I'm talking about the lights. We have to look at that, having security analyzed in all routes on campus, and also having to understand security at an off-campus context, because we're not just limited to the residential area that's here at Rhodes on campus, but then off-campus as well. Collaborating with, you know, CPU and police, and having to collaborate with, you know, fortified security forces, knowing what should be done. And I'm open to learning more and more and more about it to ensure that it falls away, because I'm someone who has been raised by a woman alone, and it would kill me if anything happens to them. It actually kills me to see. It is really inhumane. It really, I have no words for it. It's everything is beyond words.
So a lot of people have, you know, came out about occurrences that have happened in the university, and I think that I do get the point of, you know, having policy and everything, but then when it comes to practical matters, you know, policy doesn't necessarily play a role, because if, let's say, I go to 37 or somewhere and someone harasses me, I can't be like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. It's like something needs to be practical.
Power,
So how do you think we'd be able to do that? Because many people do still suffer from this, and policy is there, but it's not protecting anyone.
Definitely. You know, you need to be aware of who to talk to about these things, because you'll find that something happens to you and you don't even know where to start. It is a traumatic experience, it has happened to you, and now you are there trying to figure out the next move. So knowing who to speak to and considering all your emotions, so speaking to people from the counseling center, the healthcare center, and understanding that these are the specific routes that you need to take, speaking to the harassment office, and knowing that this is what the next move is, and having to take that further up, we need an SRC that's hands-on and prioritizes these matters, so that we can solve them, and note that we are tired of saying enough is enough. How many times do we have to say that? We really need to know that these are the people to speak to. So those policy documents are more information based, because like you said, something can happen to you at 37. You can't just pull out something like, hey, you can't do that, because that person has their own motives and they're forcing themselves onto you. So at that moment, you really have to just be able to call the necessary people and start step by step, because it is a traumatic event. It's not like saying, no, you can talk about it. It's not that simple. You are scared. Your emotions are all over the place.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you, because I mean, this is not even just a once-off occurrence. It's basically a culture in this place. And in terms of you now being president, how do you feel about, getting into your position next year? Just one word.
One word. Can't even think of a word right now. The default word would be excited, but I don't want to use that word.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, it's boring. Everyone is always excited.
Yeah,
about
it's
something.
just excited.
Yeah, like, okay, let's see. Determined. Yeah.
To do what?
Determined to lead, determined to learn, determined to understand, determined to open myself to the student body, determined to just be, and just be there for the people. The people should also understand I'm a person too, but I knew what I was getting myself into when I decided to wake up one morning and have a campaign. So it is just that, be accountable, be transparent, be open. I'm open for conversation, I'm open to learning, I'm open to leading, and yeah, let's represent leaders.
Thank you very much. And as per our tradition at Seconds and Stars, our last question is always, what is your motto?
How you do anything is how you do everything. I'm not the original quote person, but yeah, that's a motto. Yeah.
So you guys heard it from the horse's mouth. That was our episode with Mr. Bothlale Modisaotsile, the 2022 Rhodes SRC president. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Tune in for more. Thank you. That is from me, your host, Nwabisa Moyo.